It is a beautiful, beautiful morning. I think it is going to be the hottest day of the year. And I am down by our pedestrian bridge, the older one. And I came down for my morning swim. It's the first time this year I swam there. There's a gentleman in the water right now. So I went in for about 5 minutes and it felt great. But it's going to be a hot, hot day here. So I just thought, heck, I'm actually up a little late because I stayed up late last night. Yesterday I went biking, of course, to Takaka Falls, and then with my son and all his friends, we were playing a whole bunch of sports up at the field behind our house. It was just a gorgeous night. And then, gosh, I think I made a sandwich to eat at about 11:30, which is usually about 2 hours after my bedtime. But look at the morning light out here. Hey, good morning. Hi there. Oh, hi. Thank you for joining. So here is the Bow River looking just spectacular. Now this will be super crowded today. There'll be young people and everyone, but of course we have so many young people who come and work from other countries around here, particularly the Aussies who of course have a real beach culture. Did you see, incidentally, that yesterday an Australian reporter was hit by a rubber bullet in Los Angeles? It almost looked like an intentional shot. That was just amazing. That is a conversation. Well, it's an important conversation. I'll probably do a TikTok about that later today, but let's just have a little look around here. So you're looking down, really just on the cusp of the river out there is where the Bow Falls begin. And you know what? Every time I try and go there with the video, it cuts out, so I'm not going to. But you can see spectacular Mount Rundle up to the left. Some little bugs around. And there is my bike over there. I'm just going to leave the bike there for a minute, actually. The other thing, I do have a negative. There's 2 beer cans. Now, you're not allowed to drink in public in most places in Canada. Good morning. But also, you know, if you're going to take things out, like we had some drinks with us up at the field yesterday, but we cleaned them up. Hi, everyone. It is a gorgeous day. It is a spectacular day. And that's why I just thought I'd bring you up here. I'll get on the bike as well, but I just wanted to come up and show everyone. Of course, this is Pride Month, and I finally just made a little post. But, you know, Pride Month is really important. We painted all these beautiful flags around during the pandemic when we couldn't have proper Pride festivals. But look at that view down there. That is Cascade Mountain right down on Muskrat Street. So let's just wander out here. Then I'll go back and get a bike. Now, people will be outside all day today, I think. You know, and you got to be careful because right at river level here, we're at about 1,400 meters, 4,500 feet. You know, which is high, but not crazy high. But it does mean that the UV can be extreme here because, you know, there's no pollution. Although that said, we did feel yesterday like there was a little haze in the air because, of course, the terrible wildfires, which are all to the north, they tend to be blowing around us. But we were getting a little haze. I found when I was biking yesterday, I was really coughing after. So hi, everyone joining in. And oh, there I am, see? There, shadowy creature. Now the river is becoming more and more turquoise. We are June 9th now, although I think we may have already peaked to high water. I think so. It's because I always monitor that that one tree down by the Bow Falls, and it's less underwater than it was a while ago. So, but hi everyone, nice to have you all here. So I only swim here this time of year. Do you see there's an old break? See that little cement structure there? I presume it was some sort of infrastructure from years ago. So I just go out into the current a little bit and I can actually swim, but it's only about waist deep, so there's no threat of getting pulled down. So again, depending on the time of year, it'll change where I'll be going. Oh, hi there. Sorry, I'm just not saying everybody's names because I'll miss people particularly if I'm riding, but it's so nice to see some familiar faces. I've missed a lot of you. I know I haven't been live nearly as much. Big hugs to everyone. It's so nice to have you all here. Yes, and I just haven't been, oddly enough, I mean, I'm doing a lot of private guiding. I have tours for at least a couple hours most days, not quite every day, but I'm just having just some really fun time with my kid now that he's home and my new road bike. So I've just been getting a ton of exercise, which was my goal. I wasn't feeling sort of healthy enough, but I am home right through the summer. Well, we've got about 3 days in Vancouver next week. I guess this week actually. But aside from that, I will be out there for Finn's birthday and catch up with my brother. And aside from that, just home and enjoying it. Now, hopefully the smoke doesn't settle in on us. You know, we do have a high fire risk here, and that's really important to acknowledge. Now, these winds, theoretically, on the 12th or so, we're going to be blowing in a little bit of rain, and it would be lovely. The ideal for us right now would be to have 2 days of rain every week. That would be just perfect throughout the summer, you know, just to soak the ground. So when I went up to Takaka Falls yesterday, it was interesting. There's this one area. See, the road normally doesn't open. Well, it doesn't open until the snow melts off from one specific area because there's a perennial avalanche chute up there. And it wasn't going to open until the 12th, which is why we drove out to cycle the road. But then they had opened it. Boom. Opened it on Saturday, I guess, in the afternoon. And so when I went up to where the avalanche chute is, there really wasn't much snow there. And this is why we're, you know, second year in a row where our snowpack's at about 50%. So there's the big bike, of course. So let's go for a little ride. Also, of course, throughout this month, we talk about Indigenous heritage as well. And that is, of course, well, a big theme of all my tours. And, of course, the whole process of reconciliation that we're going on in this country. And again, this is not, I mean, I have my TikTok page to be political, but I do want to just acknowledge the awfulness that is going on right now in California. And the fact that, I just want to look at everyone when I talk about this, the fact that apparently people like Marco Rubio have reposted images that are not from these protests. Like it showed a burning police car, which wasn't true. So I listened to an excellent interview this morning with Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, which was a very thoughtful and balanced conversation. But that is why, of course, I'm not traveling down to the States at the moment. So that's just a, a sad reality. But here, all is going well. The latest economic data in Canada is down. I mean, there's a higher unemployment. That's all to do with, of course, manufacturing. Let me just get up the hill here, everyone, on the bike. There we go. So I've got the bike just in the turbo mode when I'm riding one-handed like this. I think I'll take you up and over. Here we go. Isn't this just gorgeous? So it's, you know, it's awfully nice to be celebrating pride in a community where we are proud of our diversity. And of course, we have so many tourists. In fact, this morning, I stopped by a hotel because a friend of mine who's a tour director from the UK is coming over here tomorrow. But the hotels have all got these kind of central reservation offices now. And he said he just couldn't get through to anyone. You know, it was really a legitimate frustration for him. So I went in and said, can I please have an email address? So that's, there we are. So now this is, I'm down back of the YWCA, which was our first hospital way back when. So it was nice to have my morning swim, but you know what, I'm barely even shivering. I maybe should have stayed in the water longer. But whatever I end up doing today, I've got some work for a couple of hours, and I have a full day tour tomorrow. But but today, I'll probably take my bike out again because, and I'll go out on the earlier side because it is going to get so hot. And when I say so hot, I think we're going to be getting up to like 28 degrees Celsius. So that is, you know, around 82, something like that. And the flowers are coming out up at the Cascade of Time. So they are doing some work there. Now, over here on the left is the Buffalo Luxton Museum. And when I was mentioning indigeneity, there is the Treaty 7 flag up there flying, the white one. And there's the shuttle from the Rimrock Hotel. That's the shuttle that comes, well, that's the hotel that's up by the gondola, and it's going to be closed and renovated this year. Now, we're also getting ready in this town of ours for a very, very, very busy time with the G7 coming to Kananaskis. In fact, yeah, that is hot. But the G7 is coming, and of course, the world leader is going to be here. Interestingly, as well, Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, has invited Modi. And why that's controversial is the Indians have been complicit in some very dodgy sort of attacks on Canadian citizens. This is the other place I like to swim over here. There's a fella doing push-ups there. And maybe I should have. I bet you I end up, if I go out for a good 2-hour bike ride, then I'll come back here and go for a swim. Sometimes the people will jump off this bridge. There is the Sleeping Buffalo. Just that beautiful mountain up there. Oh, and there's the goose family is out swimming across. What a gorgeous, gorgeous morning. Yeah, so you've got some geese. Look at that for a morning reflection. Isn't it just lovely, everyone? But honestly, if and when you come here, get up early. You know, you just have so much more that you can do with your day, and you see more. Hi, geese. Hi. But you're not going to see a lot of wildlife when it's this sort of heat. And that's just because they tend to go to water or go to the shade, because, of course, our animals are made for the -40. But there's a whole bunch of geese down there. So and there is your view of course, gorgeous Cascade Mountain and Stony Lookout in front of it. Yeah, so maybe I'll take you down Banff Avenue for the fun of it. Oh, the Banff Center, by the way, is up on the hill in the distance. And that is where all the media is going to be for the G7. So my gym is still partially open, but there's no parking, which is fine. I mean, I don't drive in town this time of year unless I'm just coming in and out or picking people up. I'm just going to zip past these people here. Just sneak by. There we go. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go down by let's go down Banff Avenue. What the heck? Now, there's often live music. Today is Monday. Oh, thank you very much. I see someone made a donation. I'm sorry, I'm just cycling, but thank you very much. I promise that will go toward probably lunch out today. By the way, in terms of charities, my main donation is always to the to Doctors Without Borders. Sorry, I was just looking out of the river because I looked like Parks was doing something down there. But Doctors Without Borders, and I can see that they've been putting out ads saying that they're giving away water bottles right now. But if you are looking for a charity to support, I always think that's a really good one, because they go into the worst situations. There's a really fun restaurant, Henki, that's Korean street food. It has been an interesting conversation I've had with a lot of people who come here on the tours. They're just amazed by the food diversity we have. Of course, Banff is only about 9,000 people. Camera is about 13. You might hear the train in the distance. Yet because we get millions of visitors, we have sort of 200 restaurants to choose from. Up on the second floor there is Chuck's Steakhouse. Now you pay, it's not cheap, but they've got their own ranch in southern Alberta. So it's pretty darn yummy. But let's just curve around out here for a second. And here is Banff Avenue, not too busy. The shops will open at 10 o'clock, and then it will get crazy busy. So Banff Fire and Rescue, I think, is going in to get a coffee. Nice to see. But yeah, over on the left, by the way, used to be the Hudson's Bay Company. And now it is Arc'teryx and Lululemon. They're both Canadian brands. Yeah, and here's the Mount Royal on the right. That's where my buddy will be staying, I think tomorrow. But yeah, it is amazing how busy town is at the moment. Do you know, why don't we? No, there's a little too much traffic over there. I'll zip down the next one, and then we'll turn down. So they've got, Indigenous History Month as well. And there is an excellent art exhibit on at the White Museum. And I went in there with a client a couple of weeks ago, and I really did enjoy it. It was really a wonderful exhibit, so well worth the effort. So there's the visitor center, the old school, and of course the Presbyterian Church, which I heard its bells going off yesterday, which was fun. They kind of share it with the Korean church, so that's fun. Nice to hear bells in the morning. See, still kind of quiet, but it will get busy. Oh, there's a new restaurant up to the left called The Boss. I did try it. I'm not really at the point of recommending it yet, I have to admit. It had been an Earl's, and really I don't feel like the menu's changed very much. We're good. So there's little Bear Street that we're just crossing over. Ooh, people have fishing rods. In fact, the couple that I have on a tour tomorrow, they're out fishing today in Kananaskis. It's pretty fantastic as well. Lovely thing. Buses need fuel too. This is an expensive way for them to get it. See, we're paying $1.43 a liter, and I think in the city it's about $1.25 or something. That's just some of the reality. Yesterday, by the way, after we went riding up to Tactica Falls, which, by the way, is a tough climb on my lungs because there's a big steep switchback. But after that, we went into field and had lunch at Truffled Pigs, which is really a fantastic place. It was gorgeous. They had all our flowers out. So the canoe club is looking really nice this year. However, there was an article in our local paper saying that the dock is unstable. So they have a temporary floating dock now, which they had to do because the retaining wall is falling over. So it needs to be reinforced. So that's just a morning challenge. But yeah, the canoeing. There's the big Voyageur canoes. Actually, I tried to show them the other day, but you see, they're the big ones. They're the copies of the ones you would have had during the fur trade. So they would have been principally French Canadians who would have been paddling them huge distances all the way up rivers. But of course, remember, our water cycle here is very distinct, right? The water starts to drop very quickly in September as the cold comes back, and so it's a very tight window for travel, and that's why forts would have been established in many places where you had to end up wintering. So that's a huge part of the colonial settlement that happened through here. Now I'm over by the hospital on the one side, and then over on the other side we have our little creek comes in off the Vermilion Lakes, and that's not glacial, so it's always a different color. But I do see muskrats and beavers in here from time to time. That's where people are paddling up and along. Just give you all of you. There is a deer in the trees there. That is a big healthy buck. See him right there? That is a lovely, and growing some really nice antlers. Now, when they're covered in velvet like that, those are capillaries. I won't get too close, obviously, but those are capillaries. And that helps move blood into the antlers because it takes a lot of energy to grow a whole set of antlers every year. Well, a couple of big, healthy deer that stay right in town because they know they're safe from predators when they're in town. Here, you know what I'm going to do with everyone, just for kicks? I'm going to take you down to the Banff side. So these are Russian willows over on the right. They were planted in the 20s when the royals were coming to visit. And to give them shade. Now, with more shuttles than we used to have, because of course Moraine Lake is shuttle only, and Lake Louise really effectively becomes shuttle only by the end of the month. But I have to come and show you the lineup of people to take a picture of the Banff sign. See the flowers, and now the wildflowers are just starting to come out as well. I saw a paintbrush yesterday, which is the beautiful red one, and then I saw 4 varieties on the meadow up near my house. There's the meadow up by Mount Norquay up there, and this is just always hilarious to me. Bus is celebrating the University of Calgary sports teams, and there's our hockey arenas. Now, very often, look at this is the lineup. So I'm going to go up here, and I'll turn around. And yesterday, when we were driving back from field, by the time we came up to here, the lineup of traffic went all the way out to the highway. So we just went in. See, technically there's 2 entrances to town. There's actually 3. We have an industrial grounds. And that's the way we sneak into town if we're getting home. Now, up where I live on the edge of town, of course, everyone lives within 4 square kilometers here. There's that was just some elk poop. So everyone lives in one general area, but I live sort of in a place that doesn't have a through road, so that makes it less busy. Look at this lovely area. These are the fenlands down here, which means lowlands. Old Norse, of course, an English term as well. I think you hear of fenlands up in the northeast of England, if that sounds right. So this is where a lot of people come, park here, and then they cycle off because the 1A highway is still closed to traffic till the end of the month. So that is probably 99% where I'll go riding today. Not on my big bike, but on my road bike. Or I'll go up and sometimes I just do the Minnewanka loop because that is a 32-kilometer loop for me. But I'm trying to get 2 hours of cardio a day right now. Although I'm being a little whiny today. My back's a bit stiff from playing football with 18-year-olds yesterday. Oh, isn't it fun? Isn't it fun aging of it? Now there's a Parks vehicle pulled over wherever you see the green stripe. So it does make me wonder. Oh no, it just stopped having a look because often they'll do that. We saw one just flying down the road yesterday, and that's often indicative of interaction with wildlife. So here's everybody just coming back, so you can have one more peek at the Banff sign up here. Fun to see. So I don't know how many of you have plans to come visit in the next year, but I do have to say that Banff is absolutely full. I mean, the desire around the world to come and visit natural places is a really wonderful, healthy thing. I think it's a good thing for all of us, of course. But that said, I mean, it is stunning. I was looking at hotels at the end of August, and for just the regular 3-star hotels on Banff Avenue, suddenly $600 or $700 a night. I have to say, you got to pick a different time to come, just for the one's old well-being. There, I'm not a fan of cycling with dogs that way. Oh, thank you. I just think that can be all you need is a dog to turn the other way, and you can have an accident. But it tells me I'm doing 15. That's correct. So I'm just gonna stop so I can see some of the questions. I have to, just when I'm cycling one-handed like this, you see, I have to be sort of careful, obviously. But here, we'll just come over here, and then I can flick through your questions and comments. And then I'll probably pack things up and go home and get changed for a bike ride. No, I know there's graffiti on the little train bridge there. That's a shame, but otherwise, isn't this just gorgeous and clear? So let's see what everyone's saying. Oh, great. Yeah, so how much cheaper in the off season? Well, this winter, when I had my group here, when I took them up to the Northern Lights up in Northwest Territories, I stayed in a very nice, the Royal Canadian Lodge, which really nice hotel, probably 4-star, and I think I was paying about $350 a night, all right, per room. So that gives you a little bit, so probably half of what they're getting now. Aren't these reflections great? So, travel is expensive. But yeah, now the Canadian dollar is quite weak, so that's helping a little bit for people. I know for those of you from the UK, the sterling is really strong at the moment. So, that is a bit of good news for people visiting from the UK. But yes, I mean, people have booked way, way, way in advance in order to get rooms, and part of it's that. I mean, so I had a private tour a couple of weeks ago with a very nice lady, and her dream, she's a retired doctor, just because I would expect that, she'd be reasonably empowered economically, but she had always dreamt of staying in the Banff Springs Hotel. A good question. I'll answer that one about the Airbnb. But she said in the summer, the Banff Springs was $2,000 a night. And when she came, whatever it was, about 10 days ago, in May, she was only paying about $1,000 US a night. So that puts it in some perspective, right? There are no Airbnbs in Banff. There are a few classic bed and breakfasts. I think there's only 2 permitted on each street. And if you sell one, it doesn't automatically keep the license. There are Airbnbs in Canmore outside of the park. Now, same debate like's going on in Spain particularly, and I'm really following the Spanish on this one because, we have such a housing crisis that, there's a lot of opposition to Airbnb. Now, Canmore has some that were designated when they were built for that kind of short-term rental, but Canmore's been moving to higher taxes for people who are non-residents. But here in Banff, because of the need to reside, of course, we don't have any of those kind of issues. So yeah, no, they're not allowed to be here, Airbnb. So you have the hotels, and then we have our homes. So again, the need to reside, I'm happy to explain it again. So I have a permit to live here, right? And why that is of course, well, the trains arrive 1883. Of course, Indigenous people have lived here. In fact, the sign's a little further up there. People have been living in this valley for at least 13,000 years. Basically, as the glaciers moved up here, this was a hunting corridor for Indigenous people. So, that's really powerful history. The nascent Canadian government rounded up the Indigenous people and put them on reserves. So that's the kind of thing that we're working through in reconciliation. So the town was created in 1883. The park was created 1885 to 1887. It's quite a long story. So then the town had its land usurped. So that's why you have a town in a national park. So then in 1990, Banff became an independent town. However, in federal legislation, like this is federal government, the town cannot expand out of these 4 square kilometers roughly. And there's colored patterns, so that's the entire town. So they brought in the need to reside clause, which means you have to qualify to live here. You have to prove that you need to be here to earn your living. So I have a business license here. You couldn't, for example, like say be a stockbroker or a writer, right? That because you don't need to be here to do that. So you have to prove your requirement to be part of the community. And they do check that sort of thing. Like we had to justify it last year again. And so that's why, even though, starter homes are obviously very expensive here, but it takes you a year to sell a place because only about 8,500 people have a permit to own here. So it is a very unique model. I think there's something sort of similar in Zermatt. Well, sort of exclusive. It's more that the national park takes priority, right? Because otherwise, this kind of environment would have become Aspen, or Jackson, Wyoming. I mean, Jackson, Wyoming, a town I know really well and I love, but the average house price is $3.7 million there. Yet minimum wage for servers is like $3 an hour. People live in their cars, right? Whereas here, the community, it falls under the 3 mandates, the tripartite mandate of Parks Canada, the Dominion Park Service established in 1911, which says, its mandate was environmental protection, cultural heritage, and access. So it's not that, I don't get priority over anyone who immigrates to Canada. They come here. In fact, I have a new neighbor that I met yesterday. They've come here from Golden. They'll be working at a new shop that's opening apparently, but they're originally from India. But because they're working at a shop in town, then they qualify for need to reside. So actually, Canmore outside the park gates is now more expensive than Banff. But it's a different mindset here. You don't really talk about property values. I mean, I'll be paying my mortgage till I die, but so on paper, it's an expensive place, but it's not something you can sort of cash in on. And to retire here, I have to have worked my last 5 years. So, and I fully intend to retire here. So it's a different kind of mindset than that. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit. The cycling roads are very good through here. Of course, with my big bike in the winter, I switch to studded tires, which you really do need. Oops, sorry, just about on a bit of a rough path here. But yeah, you need the big tires in the winter. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it is very interesting. It's just a whole different attitude for living. Now, I've had one set of neighbors move. They moved to a place in BC. They had a wonderful young child. He was such a lovely young person, but they wanted to be closer to their parents. And so, yeah, their house I think it took a year to sell. So those are the kind of things that happen. I'm just going to zip you over for the fun because there's not a lot of traffic at the moment to the train station. So this train station was built in 1910, but say the trains arrive in 1883, and then of course they set about building the Grand Banff Springs Hotel to pay for the trains, and that really is what unified Canada, and also why at one point they said the sun never set on the British Empire, because you could take a train right across Canada and connect the whole world. So this is the first community in the modern world where everything was sort of built for attracting visitors. So it's quite interesting, the birth of modern tourism. I've got an article about that. Now, this is fun because the train station's got 2 gondola cars out there. The guy who owns this also owns Mount Norquay, the ski hill up in the back. And they're desperately trying to get a permit to bring a gondola from the station up to that mountain. So I don't pose everything. It's easy to just stand in opposition to everything. I actually am kind of in favor of that because it would light up traffic on the big road up to Norquay, which has a ton of wildlife. They're cleaning our streets. That's getting the gravel off, because we have gravel as soon as it snows. And yes, I've just replaced my windshield on my car for the second time this year. Those are all the kind of hidden costs to living in a climate like this. Really, genuinely, frustratingly, the hidden costs. So, yeah, so I'm just going to head back to Banff Avenue, and then I will say goodbye to everyone. But yeah, also the other big gondola, I mean, it's just, it is over full all the time. It costs over $80 to go up. And I think on top of all that, the company that owns it owns too many of our attractions in the national park. There you go. So I'm just waiting for this car to go here. There we go. Oh, I just saw someone smoking. It's very rare to see tobacco around here, but you are not to smoke or vape anything, because cannabis is totally legal in this country, but on public spaces, public paths in Banff, because we're trying to keep the air as clean as possible. So, that's good. I think that's a lovely rule. In fact, honestly, I would just ban smoking altogether personally, but I know it's a longer, harder process. Really impressed with New Zealand that way. So here is the nice view right up Banff Avenue, and it's already getting busier, but I will just zip through the intersection here, and then I will bid you adieu. But I want to thank everyone for coming along. I appreciate contributions for those who've made them, and I hope everyone has a really, really lovely day. Isn't it true, hey? So feel free to share this around. I've just been putting up those little shorts on YouTube, but yeah, it's been fun to hang out with everyone for a half hour. So everyone have a beautiful day. Peace and love. It's so nice to connect with people I recognize, and bringing new people into our community. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, from beautiful Banff on a gorgeous sunny day, I will talk to everyone soon. Bye-bye.